No, the problem is, look, you know, again, how many times it has to be shown to people. Gravity is a concept derived from a simple observation. Okay? There's two factors to these observations that branch off, right? You get one called Newtonian and one called Einsteinian, right? Now, the Newtonian was an observation of an object falling within our reference frame. The other one was derived in order to try and explain how little space testicles in a vacuum ground each other in orbits and ellipses and spin on their axis and wobble and gyrate because it's fucking idiotic. So through the use of mathematics, they had to derive some conceptual fucking gibberish about a fantasy realm and reference frame that's of no relation to you whatsoever. An imagination place that you have no access to. A story has been written and then mathematical gibberish has been created in order to perpetuate the story. That's how it happened, that's how it played out. The story came first, then came the mathematical equations, the conceptual notions, right? Derived from axioms that they conjured up out of their arse. So that they could bamboozle you into accepting some nonsensical story about where you think you are. That's the facts. The first one, Newtonian, right, that is observable and practical to every single one of us. So, Newtonian, observation, natural phenomena, everybody can experience it. Newton himself, under the notion of gravity being a pulling force, offered no hypothesis because he himself, if he was a real guy, knew that it was fucking preposterous. Because there's no such thing as pulling forces. They don't exist. Things move because they're pushed, pressed. Pressure is used to achieve motion. So the focus shouldn't be about flat earthers. Flat earthers say gravity's not real. We have to separate the two. The natural phenomena that we observe of picking something up and letting it go, and we observe this thing that we call falling. Questions can be asked. First and foremost, you have to separate it from the question of what shape the Earth is, which is what the heliocentric globe Earth proponents do not do, because it's totally irrelevant. We're asking the question. It's like me saying, I'm questioning the topography of this thing here, and somebody goes, oh look, stuff falls. Therefore, I don't know how I'm going to arrive at measuring this thing, but we'll waffle and act like it means something. It's a red herring. It's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. Objects falling, the way they fall, the rate in which they fall, has got absolutely nothing to do with what the shape of the Earth is. Why are people still wasting their fucking time? It's always couched in the shape of the Earth question. Why can't you separate the two? Shape of the Earth. What is the Earth? Different fucking question. Oh, look at that, objects falling. Different fucking question. But the heliocentric globe Earth, nonsense, has taken the natural observation. Aye, globe Earth requires, because it's so idiotic and stupid, it should just be as simple as me giving you a ball, right, and trying to place two objects antipode to each other, right, and showing you what happens. But they need you to remove your sensibilities from here and place them in some imagination realm out of space where it's all inverted and different to what we actually observe and experience here and demonstrate here within this reference frame. So they knew they needed some sort of magic, and that's what it is. Make no fucking bones about it, because if I gave you a ball right now, right, and saying, okay, get things antipode teacher and get them to remain on the ball while it spins in fucking mid-air. You would know it was preposterous. You would need some form of magic to make it happen. Exactly. Right? This is what they need. Some magical aspect that they can inject into their fucking nonsensical, idiotic concept. Yeah, I know what we'll tell them, gravity's actually the warping and bending of space-time. New invisible magic. New invisible magical concepts. So anyhow, I'm not going to digress and hammer too much on the point. The point is, when we're talking about our actual experiences, the only thing we've got is this observation. Right? Now again, it's a total separate discussion and topic from what the shape of the earth is. But we can have a discussion about it, which is what I'm going to do right now. Just to the camera, just to the bit of plastic. So again, it's the globe earth, it says that, things go towards the earth. And now they're rewording, now they're starting to change it because of people like me. And pointing out the fact that there's no such thing as pulling forces. So now they're having to make idiotic statements like the earth's pushing up at you while space collapses in. So you're getting this meet in the middle thing where the earth's pushing up at your feet and space is collapsing in. How can a ball push outwards in every direction without tearing itself apart? I'm just an honest guy. I can't make any assertive statements about, the earth's motion, whether it is or it isn't. For me, it's all an open investigation. And it bothers me a wee bit when people make affirmed statements, and I would like to know what those affirmed statements are based upon. Again, at this point we should be displaying an ability to be unbiased and to be able to engage and articulate our reasoning for why these statements are being made, without feeling all agitated and anxious and angry because you feel like you're being attacked. If people feel as if they're being attacked, it's because they're still in some cult dichotomy, right, of choosing at one side or another. For me, the only side is truth. There is no two sides. And you're only going to end up on two sides when you jump ahead of yourself and you start making assertions and claims about things that you do not know about. Statements, we're in a magical fields and static electricity, all these things require motion. People forget that. If any of these people that, send me an email right now so that it's there. Arwin, anybody who wants to say they are stationary or it's whatever, have the conversation about it. Do yourself justice and do whatever you think the truth is justice by coming and conveying it. Because again, I'm an honest guy. If you convey it to me and there's practical reference, that I can relate to through your conveyance, then I'm going to accept it. Again, I don't have a bias. I'm not just going to hand wave dismiss things because I've got a bias to defend. That's not who I am. Again, I'm not making any affirmed statements. I'm postulating, and again, my reasoning for that postulation is based upon what I can practically demonstrate and deduce from the practical demonstrations, what these practical demonstrations show me. That's it. That's where I'm at. I'm not saying, 100% it's this or it's no that. I just ask questions and then I seek a method of practicality to see what I can discover for myself. I have said before so many times, motion for me is the thing that demonstrates how the setup of this environment can be achieved by using the practical references and discussing them. And again, it's only up for discussion. These people that come here and act like, there's an attack and defence. I'm in no camp whatsoever. I'm only in the camp of investigation. I'm asking questions and I'm seeking to, resolve we're talking about objective reality, and we're practical beings, that operate at an experiential level. When we're reasoning and making statements and stuff, the only way to convey that and for me to accept it is by a process of practicality. Because if I don't have anything practical, what are we talking about? We're talking about fantasy. We're talking about fantasy conceptual stuff that I think a lot of people keep missing. For me, it's more beneficial for people to be grounded in that. Your reasoning has to come from the point of experience and what's practical. People get it. It's all very well that people get it when I say, okay, well, let's look at true scale modelling. There's a glass of water, there's a bowl of water, there's a bathtub of water, there's a swimming pool of water, there's a lake of water, and you get it from that point because it's scalable, it's practical. Right? The very same thing applies to this. We have a downward vector, we have things that we call weight, we have a density tower, right? These things that are practical that we need to ask questions about how these things are achievable and what we have at our hands practically in order to demonstrate how these things are achievable. So when we're talking about gravity, we're talking about the vector. We're talking about things, falling at a particular rate in a particular direction. And that's it. Density and buoyancy. Density and buoyancy, you can see through density towers, there's a particular, structure of how things are layered from the densest to the least dense, right? But they're orientated in a top-down fashion. So the least dense at the top and the most dense at the bottom. The question is, why is that? Why is it not the opposite way? What dictates that it's to be orientated in that direction down relative to us? What dictates that? That's the crux of the whole fucking question. And that's where I go. Again, what can I utilise practically in order to achieve these things? And the only thing that we have is motion. Whether we talk about it in uniform linear fashion or we talk about it in a circular, like a centrifuge, because in both cases you can achieve that motion. The density of the material dictates it. The density of a material dictates the orientation. Wow! This is what I'm talking about. This is sheer ignorance and utter stupidity. Total and utter stupidity. And you really need to stop repeating that, because you're doing the investigation no justice whatsoever. The only thing you're doing is giving fodder to the other end of the false dichotomy, globe earthers. Because even they're smart enough to know that there's a question to be asked about why things are orientated in that particular direction. And then you get fuckwits that just say, density dictates it. Density has no factor. Look, again, I'm going to play with your mind here, right? You've got an object in three-dimensional space, right? And it's just there in three-dimensional space in whatever orientation you want. The object has, volume, size, okay? And it has a particular density to it. Now what weighs up, what weighs down? What about the density of this thing would dictate in three-dimensional empty space what weighs up and what weighs down? Then if I had other materials here that just sit next to it with different density, how do they come to be that they orientate themselves one above the other? What is it about the density that dictates, I have to go there and you have to go here? Explain. You're listening to fucking idiots using mantras because they're too fucking lazy or they've got an ulterior motive to why they're avoiding the very question. You can run and you can squirm and you can wriggle all you fucking like. The question is relevant.